Good evening. The City of Bothell Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, April the 1st will come to order. Let the record show that all the commissioners are here and accounted for except for Commissioners Gastineau, Stahl, and Vliet, who are absent and excused. We have minutes to approve for the meetings of December 3rd, 10th, 17th, and January 7th. Are there any comments or discussions from the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes for those 4 meetings? And if you could just do one motion for all 4, that would be great.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the meetings as presented.
Second.
Motion has been set and seconded for approval of the minutes for December 3rd, 10th, 17th, and January 7th. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We have no new business this evening, and so we're going to continue the public hearing for the 2015 Periodic Plan and Code Update. And at this point, we'll have a brief presentation from Mr. Gary Hassler.
Thanks, Steve, and good evening, Commissioners. I have a very, very brief presentation for you this evening. As you know, this is your, I think, 43rd iteration of this public hearing, so I think everyone's pretty well versed in this by now. Your April 1st packet consists of essentially 3 different things. The first is the sub-area plan transportation sections, which you haven't seen to date. They're relatively straightforward, I think. They've essentially been amended to ensure consistency with the transportation element, update information, and then remove old or outdated material. The other major part of your packet tonight is draft Planning Commission findings, conclusions, and recommendation. And I think you received an email earlier this week from Dave Boyd noting that the Shelton View rezone findings were added post-packet publication. Those were inadvertently left out, and we apologize for that, but you have them tonight. After tonight's meeting, we will integrate those into the major body of your findings. And then finally, we've provided you just the pages that you have already made revisions to as a result of previous Planning Commission review as part of this integrated review. So you should have received those changes. We're asking you to take 2 actions tonight. The first is to move to close the public hearing, and the second is to move to recommend to the City Council the 2015 Periodic Planning Code Update as summarized within the Planning Commission findings and conclusions. It's the end of an awful lot of work for all of us, so this is a big motion tonight. And then we would finally request that if you are amenable to it, that any revisions you make tonight that you allow us to make with your permission without having to return them to you. If you would like to do something whereby the chair sits down with myself to go over those revisions, we'd be happy to do that. But I think to save us all having to come back for an additional meeting just to check those revisions makes sense. That's all I have for you tonight. We would be happy to go through this in any way you would like to, and obviously answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Gary. Are there any questions of staff based on the presentation that we just received? Keep those 2 motions ready for us, if you will, as we are ready to wrap the meeting up tonight. So thank you very much, Gary. This is a public hearing, and I would like to open this up to the members of the public. We do have a few folks here. Anybody that would like to come forward and make any comments? No? Okay. And also this hearing will be televised, and so members of the public that are watching on television or have other ways that they would want to provide feedback to city staff based on this evening's agenda are welcome to do so. I had a couple of comments, and then we'll go right into our questioning of staff with regards to these documents that we reviewed. First of all, I wanted to say thank you very much to all of you for the work done. I know I went through the packet page by page, and I thought the staff did an outstanding job. Looking back over the last 14 months, I don't know if we set any kind of a record for the longest. It's right, actually 43 meetings of one single long public hearing. Is there any record as to how long a public hearing for the city of Bothell has actually gone, or did we come close to setting it?
I don't know that we came close to setting any records, but we're certainly right up there, probably the top 5.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
that's fairly typical for these major planning code updates, but,
Right.
But it's certainly a lot of public hearings.
Yeah.
And I should note that I think amongst jurisdictions that do this, we're almost unique in taking that sort of time and care over the update. There are jurisdictions who, and I'm not exaggerating at all, will hold 1 or 2 public hearings for their plan update. So I think we really try to provide as much opportunity as possible for the Planning Commission and public to really have their input on this.
Well, I hope that the document reflects all the work. Sometimes you can work too much and do too much in the way of feedback, and it actually doesn't get better. But I think what we tried to do was keep moving, and maybe might not look like that after 43 meetings, but keep moving through the material, but also be willing to pause and do a dive on a particular topic if it was necessary. So we tried to have a blend of both delving deep on an issue, but also keep our pace as well. A few other just kind of key numbers that I saw as I went through the packet was 36 exhibits, 23 appendices, a vision statement rework, 13 plan elements, and 17 sub-area plans. So, yeah, it's been a tremendous amount of work on staff's part and ours as well. So I just wanted to kind of open things up with those comments. Are there any, maybe I might, before we actually get into the specifics of the material tonight, any comments from any of the Planning Commission? Commissioner Stedman.
I, too, would like to thank the city staff for all the work that you guys did. You made our job a heck of a lot easier. The way that you went through the process of explaining each of the sub areas and each of the, every single stage that we went through, you really made it very easy for us to understand and absorb and analyze. So, and the finished product that you guys put together is just outstanding. So, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Clark.
I would like to add a thank you to that, and also just to acknowledge your patience with us, as we're not nearly as well versed in these topics as you are, and I appreciate the fact that when we would ask for clarifications and questions that might seem obvious to you, that you were patient with us and answered those, and I think you did an excellent job with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cabe.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely ask some odd questions once in a while, so I appreciate staying with me. In addition, just the history that you guys have, not only with this update, but the city as we've moved forward. It's been a great asset to us up here as far as working through these changes. So really appreciate all the hard work over the last year.
Yeah, I think it was important for us to just kind of provide some initial comments here, and so and we might at the end as well, just to kind of wrap things up. But let's go ahead and move through now the material that you provided to us, and I think what I'd like to do is kind of break it into the 3 subcategories that you provided. So, you provided us an integrated review of the sub-area plans, particularly the transportation section that there was language. I noticed, Sherman, you're with us. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. And so I guess I'll ask the Planning Commission, is there anything on any of that section, the sub-area plans, in particular the transportation section, that either needs additional clarification or you have any comments? Commissioner Stedman.
Yes, on the sub area MB11. If you take a look at that under transportation policies, freeway limited access highways, we eliminated that with a notation that I-405 is not managed or maintained by the city and is not classified as an arterial. If you look at the other sub-areas, NC13, QB11, CP18, FL11, et cetera, they still show I-405 as a freeway limited access highway. It's still in there. So we just need, that's just a little clarification or a little cleanup on the various sub-areas.
Anything else?
Just a quick clarification.
Commissioner Cabe.
This is just a general two general questions throughout the transportation updates. One is we've struck through landscaping on all description of the islands. Just want to get an update. Is that kind of budgetary, or is it sort of shoehorning us if we're saying we're going to landscape all of the future traffic islands moving forward?
Yes, it was in the major component of the element where I was also recommended, and it is a budgetary purpose that we remove the landscape medians as part of in general. So for any future development, and it doesn't remove the need for medians themselves, but just not landscape medians, because it's very time consuming and to maintain those.
Yeah, understood. Okay, and it's probably the same answer for the second item, but a lot of the language was modified from pursue traffic calming to consider traffic safety calming devices. Just, I guess it softens sort of our direction in certain areas.
Yeah, that the comments regarding the traffic calming I found were too focused on just speed reduction, and for a lot of neighborhoods and any of our city streets where we do consider traffic calming, speed reduction is one of the primary things, but also cut through traffic is also another thing, and there's different ways of addressing, and we have a toolbox of traffic calming measures, and just to go out there and say we're going to reduce the speed, it just gives a different connotation, I think, that we didn't want to include in the sub-area plan.
Okay, that's all I had on transportation. Overall, I thought it tied all of the sub-areas together very well and reflected the main transportation element. So,
I'd like to add my comments too. I think you got some feedback from us early on that the language was just in a different format. And I thought it was brought kind of closer to kind of the format of the other elements, and we appreciate very much the effort you took to do that.
Thank you.
You bet. So are there any other comments, questions on the first part of our agenda? Seeing none, let's move to the second, which is the commission findings, conclusions, and recommendations. And are there any comments, questions with regards to that?
can I go backwards?
Sure.
Sorry. Just two other small cleanup items. MB5, paragraph 2, there's a sentence, there's also a shared use path along a portion of the west side, just changing use to use. And WS19, under actions, point 1, in order to implement policy, it looks like it says a number, or number 84 above, just striking either 8 or 4, whichever policy number that refers to, not 84. I think the 4 needs to be struck, but that's all.
Great, thank you. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at the stage of where it's going to be those kinds of inputs. But we want the document to reflect our work. We want it to, as best as possible, as we send it forward to the City Council, to be one that we can feel proud of. So that's why we're doing some of this. Don't mean to be nitpicking here.
No.
Any other on the sub-areas, particularly the transportation section? Seeing none, let's move on to the next section, which is the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Are there any comments or questions with regards to that? Commissioner Cape.
I have a couple that I have marked up. First one is on the first page of the findings. So bullet point 3 talks about the critical area ordinance is up to date. And the ordinance, I'm assuming, is different from the map that we took out later in the packet. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that we were in compliance. Second item was just a comment, but during this process we had some feedback that it was hard to get information from time to time, whether it's on the website or through mailings. Point B, it talks about we had a mailing service to 200 people. Do you foresee that Imagine Bothell mailer growing or reaching more people, or what's the best way to get that information out?
We've found over time that there are still a lot of people, quite a few people, who like to receive that by email each month. We have slowly whittled down the number of people we actually physically mail it to the point where just this month we were able to get that down to literally 0. So we disseminate it electronically now, either through the website or straight to people's email, and we find that both methods are requested still.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. Page 22. We have a good description, sort of the shortfall on the Snohomish County portion of Bothell with regards to housing. It doesn't necessarily discuss about what the either penalty or the result of us coming under the population target would be. It references Linwood and Everett, I believe, but it'd be nice maybe to just bring it all home with why we have to meet it, or
have a statement as to what the potential state repercussions might be if we don't meet the shortfall.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember asking Bill that question or a related question like that, and it seemed like he either didn't know or it was kind of like, well, we just don't want to find out. But it was nothing more in terms of what the real penalty is. It was just, we don't want to go there.
I think I can be a little bit more specific than that. We would be out of compliance with Vision 2040 and state and countywide planning policies, and I think the possible implications are that we could lose various forms of funding that we receive from the state, as well as not being eligible for certain state grant monies.
Yeah.
So those are two. So it essentially comes down to money. We would be jeopardizing funding that we get from the state through various methods at the moment.
Okay.
But if the commission would like to see a statement to that effect added, I could certainly do that.
Any other comments on that?
Well, from my perspective, I think we've shown a way to more than accommodate the shortfall. So I don't know that we really need a statement saying that if we don't have the additional housing units available, then we are subject to some unknown penalty or some unspecific penalty, I guess. My preference is to actually just not have it in there.
Commissioner Clark?
I could go either way on it.
Okay. I probably could as well. I see the benefit. We're making a recommendation that would have us not go there, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. But it's possible the city council wouldn't accept our recommendations, and so to kind of have some language with regards to what the risk to the city is might not be completely out of line. But is that something that you could craft?
It is. That's something I could craft, and if you like, I could run it past the chair for to see if that's acceptable and add it before it goes to council.
My approval on that.
I certainly would be, but if you're going to do that, then I would ask that we find out exactly what the penalty is,
okay,
instead of having it be pretty ambiguous.
Okay. Sure. No, I would certainly do that in any language that I propose. I think I could probably do that by early next week, Steve, and have something to you to bounce back off you.
All right. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, it's not mandatory in my mind. I kind of agree with after Commissioner Stedman's comments that we cover it, so maybe it's not even worth diving into, but just wanted to provide them a clear history because you kind of read through it and it talks about shortfalls but doesn't really talk about the implications of if we didn't meet them. So
okay,
I could go either way as well. On page 35, under Planning Commission conclusion, we talk about, this is the Hallett property, and we discuss the R9600 and how that's the Planning Commission's conclusion. I just want to make sure, I was hoping that we could add language that reflects the protection of Wine Valley siding in this conclusion as well. I know we discuss it up above, but that was a large part of our conclusion, is not just keeping it R9600, but making sure that there's no, damages to Wine Valley siding.
I might, while we're on that, I'm sorry, before I add Bruce, any comment?
Yeah, I'll just, whatever you would like to have your conclusion. I thought we kind of adequately covered it in the findings above, because we actually have quite a bit of discussion about it, but we can certainly add it as a conclusionary statement that the commission said, with the protections to the Wine Valley siting, we believe that it's appropriate to assign an R9600 designation to
Yeah.
well, adjacent properties, I should say.
Right. Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Anyway, okay.
On my.
One thing I remember was when we had both representatives of the Halletts and the siding company here, there was a possibility that they might work things out kind of on their own, in which the siding company made a very generous offer to pay the additional tax burden that the Halletts are feeling because of the current zoning. I guess do we want to have anything in there that would just say there's a possibility that the Hallett request could be removed, or they might go away?
Well, because it's a private type of thing, it's usually not a good thing to put that into your findings or something like that, because it may not occur. And
Right.
my understanding is that it's not likely to occur. But,
Okay. All right.
We'll keep. I think I would prefer not to have it in there, just from the standpoint that the Planning Commission's recommendation and your conclusions and your findings should stand on their own.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Understood. Okay. I agree. Are there any other?
Just one last one.
Yes.
I don't think we need a change, but page 46, this is the Hearst property. We were talking about in the Planning Commission analysis, I agree with the 2 points that we have listed here. One other key consideration I thought was the split parcel with the power lines running through the middle, that it was 7,200 on one side, and it just made sense to match that across the power lines. But we don't necessarily have to add it, just that was one of the other key considerations we were looking at with that parcel.
Okay.
Chair Booth, could I?
Yeah, Commissioner Clark.
I want to back up for a second to the Hallett proposal. I guess I didn't read this closely enough prior to the meeting, but I don't see any specific protections that are given to Wine Valley, because if I recall, we were talking about an actual an amendment or something that was going to. Is that specific? Maybe I'm just not seeing it right now. I just would like to be reassured that.
What page are you on?
Well,
I'm back on 35.
And I can help you there. There's a good reason you're not seeing it, because that was in the last packet. That was in the March 18th packet, when we had the sub-area plan language, or the code language. And that's where we put that language that protects the adjacent property owners from having to comply with those special setback provisions. And so all you have tonight is the findings, but that was in that other packet, so.
Okay, so maybe I'm confused. This is, I thought this was a standalone document that's the recommendations going to the council.
Well, certainly the whole packet will be part of it, but what we did is, remember when to keep the packet from being 8 inches tall, we split the elements, basically 3 parts, was the citywide elements, then the sub-area plans, and now the finding document.
Okay, so the findings is presented to the council in addition to those.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay,
All-
okay.
This whole packet goes to the council, yes.
Okay, I thought maybe we were distilling it down to this one smaller document, as long as it's all in there. Okay. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Clark, if I hear you correctly, is what you're asking is it possible to have a finding that reflects that Planning Commission desire for that language for Wine Valley siting?
Maybe I'm not understanding the importance of a finding versus what's already in the last packet. So I guess if the last packet clearly provides the protection that we wanted the Wine Valley siting owner to have, then I'm fine with that. I'll trust your judgment on that. If there's any way that it makes it weaker to not be in this, then I would like to have something added to it. But
I support Commissioner Clark's point. I guess I'm not sure exactly what the city council is going to do, whether they go through page by page. I hope they do, but if they just look at the findings, we would like this finding that he's describing was critical in our support for the recommendation that we made. So we just want to make sure that's actually included, and that the city council sees that. Based on his point and my support, reinforcement of it, do we need to modify this document or not?
What I could do very simply is just kind of add a kind of a synopsis of that language that you've provided into the finding here. And maybe just,
Yeah.
okay, so you can see that, okay, yeah, that's kind of the general direction where we're going without having to duplicate the entire.
Absolutely.
entire
I don't think
summary.
you do need to duplicate it, but I think
Right.
there was just a bullet item that says there was some additional, I don't know if you want to call it a carve-out or what the right term is.
Protection?
Protections for the siding company that would be important, because if we're going to go to R9600, then this GC parcel next to it would normally be at risk. Some of the structures that they have near
Right.
the property line, et cetera, noise, et cetera. So hopefully you can just at least add a brief 2 or 3 line bullet, if you will, that says that these special protections for the Wine Valley Siding Company were included and were a key part of the Planning Commission's
Yeah, I can add that
There's-
very simply.
Yeah.
There's a vague reference in the second paragraph on page 35. It does clearly say that there have been modifications to BMC Chapter 12.6, but maybe if you just, that would be the place to add kind of just a brief bullet of what those modifications are. I guess.
You bet.
Well,
It's exactly well added.
Okay, sounds good. Good, thank you for bringing that up. Are there any other questions with regards to the findings, conclusions, and recommendations? I only had one. It's very minor. It's just kind of goes back to the opening comments at the beginning of the meeting. Page 2, we're saying on item 4, the Planning Commission held public hearings on the 2050 on, as follows, and it lists all the dates. Do we want to say one public hearing with each of these as a meeting, just to kind of have our language
It is
consistent there?
technically a public hearing, so I'll make that change and
Okay.
just state that a public hearing was held on the following dates.
Yep, great, thanks. All right, I think we're ready to move to the third and final part of our packet and this is the revisions made to planning area-wide elements and sub-area plans at direction of the Planning Commission as part of the first and second. So basically what this is we've already done 2 integrated reviews. We provided some feedback to you, and you're providing this section to say we heard what you asked and here's how we're going to include it. So is there anything that we have with questions with regards to that? I'm not seeing anything here. The only thing that I will add, just a comment, one of the feedback elements was with regards to public safety, and there was a pretty significant scaling back of the language around that to have just more facilities and less on kind of the overall operations of public safety removed, and I think that's a real improvement. So I'm very glad we've done that, because I think we veered by leaving that other language in there. We veered off into kind of having this turn into a strategy document for public safety, which is not what we're trying to do at all. So I thought that was a real improvement. I have just a real minor one. I thought Commissioner Cabe's language in SV11 was very well reflected. At the end of CF11, so this is, let's see, so this is capital facilities, and you had just the pages. This is again the at the end of kind of the public safety element. At the end of that page, it looks like, does that sentence continue on CF12, and we just don't see it? Is that what we're looking at there? So you know where I'm at? I'm at CF11.
I believe it does. I printed
just
those
ends
out
with-
for
we
I
end
printed
with-
those out for Bill. I can double check that, but I'm
I
sure it
just want
runs
to
on to
make sure
CF11.
that moves on to the next page, that we
Yeah.
we don't just have a.
I tried to make sure that if
Hanging
a
sentence.
section ran onto the next page to give you all the pages, but it looks like I may have missed that one.
Okay, just if you could check on that, that would be great. I don't think we have any other comments or feedback for you on that. So overall, outstanding job. At this point, if there's not any other further questions or discussion, I think we're ready. I think we should have a drum roll or something. This is pretty exciting for us. Who wants to enter in the motion to close? And I would do more than that. Close the public hearing and just give a brief description of what the public hearing has been, and then we'll vote on that. Commissioner Stedman, are you ready to?
I was fine until you said the brief description. I'd also we've acknowledged the work that the city staff has put into this, which we've all said we appreciate. But I'd also like to thank my fellow commissioners for all the effort, work, time, research, et cetera, that went into this, because this certainly has been an educational process, and as Commissioner Clark said earlier, it's been one that I think we've been patient with each other, and we've learned a lot from each other, and that's really been appreciated. So,
well, I might add just one last thing. I know that what we've tried to do is weigh. They might be competing interests or various interests, whether it's the protection of public lands and open space, or the need for us to continue to develop economically and build Bothel's tax base. We've really attempted to kind of do what we believe reflects Bothel's values in our efforts on this document. The document's never completed, but I do believe we've achieved that. That's my hope. All right.
I make a motion that we move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor of concluding or closing the public hearing on the 2015 periodic plan and code update?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And we have a second motion, probably as critical as the first. Commissioner Clark.
Move to recommend to the City Council the 2015 periodic plan and code update as summarized within the Planning Commission findings and conclusions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That concludes the public hearing on the 2015 periodic plan and code update. Moving on in our agenda, we do not have a study session this evening. I don't believe there's any old business, any reports from staff, and we might just a comment about our upcoming calendar. I know that there's the planning staff is going to be very busy with regards to the city council, but and having this plan move forward now to them. Maybe take us a little bit through where this plan goes.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, I'd just like to say that on behalf of staff, we thank you for all of your hard work. We certainly couldn't have got through all this without all of your help. That's a huge amount of work to get through in under 18 months, in 14 months in your case. So from all of us, thank you very much. The first City Council public hearing on this issue is scheduled for April 21st, 3 weeks from last night. It would be great to see one or more planning commissioners at that hearing. Council does sometimes have questions of the Planning Commission and want to get your perspective on why you're making a particular recommendation. So if Steve, yourself, or any of the other commissioners are willing to be at that hearing, that would be wonderful. We'd appreciate that.
I'll be there.
The council is also scheduled to hold a public hearing in May, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact date for you in front of me, as well as June, and we're hoping that council will adopt this. My hope is on June 16th, I believe, prior to the June 30th deadline. In the meantime, we will also be, we're currently working, staff is working on a State Environmental Policy Act, a SEPA determination for this. We're planning on issuing a mitigated determination of non-significance. We'll have that out sometime in the next week or so. The comment and appeal period for that will run during the council hearings. We will take your recommendation, add the revisions to it as necessary, take care of a lot of housekeeping things, such as change all the headings on all of the various parts of the document to read Planning Commission recommendation, so everything is formalized. And then we'll get that sent down to the folks at the state in Olympia so they can review it, the growth management folks. That's another requirement that we have to meet for this, as part of this process. They have a 60-day review period, so we need to get down to them fairly quickly. And then, as I said, hopefully on June 16th or thereabouts, Council will hopefully adopt this this whole thing, and we'll have a new plan in place.
Excellent. Anything else as far as reports from staff?
Nothing else unless any of my... Dave has just very kindly looked up the council hearing dates for me. So April 21st, May 5th, June 2nd, and I believe June 16th, with hopeful adoption on June 16th.
Excellent.
And nothing else from me, thank you.
All right. Reports from members. Commissioner Cabe.
Just a question for staff. Has there been a replacement for Commissioner Gastineau that's been identified
It's
yet?
my understanding that the council will take action on April 7th, next Tuesday. That's my understanding.
Thanks.
Thanks. Any other comments or reports from members? Yeah, we look forward to having full commission back and ready to go when we pick things back up here in a month or so.
I would just note that you've all attended an orientation session in the past when you were appointed to the commission, and we'll obviously we'll hold an orientation session for whoever the new commissioner is. So hopefully they can take their place and get up to speed quickly.
Sounds good. Good. All right. I think at this point we're ready to adjourn our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And second? Second. We are adjourned.
You said you were going to vote on